Raise your hand, we'll bring you cards. For those of you who also just joined us, if you happen to have a cell phone, please put it on silent or vibrate. And we hold our applause during these forums until the end, so I ask you to please respect that rule. And my name again is David Marin with the League of Women Voters. It's our pleasure to do this in combination with the Santa Paula Chamber of Commerce. We have these 4 candidates, and I'll begin with our first candidate. They have an opening statement of 1.5 minutes. Candidates, you've seen our timer is right up front. He's going to give you a warning when you have 30 seconds remaining. And we randomly drew those numbers, and our first candidate is Dwayne Ashby, and he will have 1.5 minutes. Mr. Ashby.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. My wife, Kathy, and I moved to Santa Paula almost 19 years ago after an extensive search through the county looking for a place that we wanted to live. We've raised our children here, and whenever I have occasion to travel elsewhere, I always brag about living in Santa Paula, the beauty of the town, the murals, the historic buildings, the fantastic weather, the family atmosphere, the parades, the festivals, the other activities, a police and fire department second to none, I feel. And when I tell them about our state-of-the-art waste disposal and our fantastic recycling program, they're all envious, saying that they wish they had something like that in their town. You may remember me 2 years ago, I ran for city council in the last cycle and was narrowly defeated. Before then, I served on the Economic Development Advisory Committee for the city, and since that time, I've been the chair of that committee. I've worked for 2 large multinational corporations as a trainer, management, and when I was beginning my bid to run for city council, many people came to me expressing their frustrations as to how the city has kind of deviated from a very good path that it was on. And so I decided that I wanted to help out to bring the city back into alignment and to keep going in the direction that we've been going. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Martin Hernandez.
Thank you, David. Good evening, folks. My name is Martin Hernandez. I'm a native of Ventura County. My wife and I moved here almost 20 years ago, and we finished raising our boys here. They went to local schools. I'm a medic by training. After I enlisted in the United States Air Force. As a veteran, I knew at that time that I committed my life to public service. After that, I worked as an alcohol and drug counselor, working for many private and nonprofit and governmental agencies, helping change lives as well. Following that, I was hired as a director of the local Family Resource Center here in town, a program of interfaith children family services, a program for at-risk youth, helping at-risk youth and their families. That's when I was first introduced to County Supervisor Kathy Long. Shortly after that, I joined her staff and have been working for her as an administrative assistant for almost 12 years now. The last couple of years as her chief of staff, making sure the operations of the office run smoothly. It's during those 12 years that I've had exposure to many different committees that I represent the supervisor on, not only at the county but at the state level, and have gained a large amount of experience, larger than that, a great array of resources that I think would be of value to the city of Santa Paula. I feel I could hit the ground running here in Santa Paula, having understand many different staff reports, budgets, things of that nature, being able to make an educated decision, knowing the right questions to ask. I would be honored to serve as your new city council member and bring some pride back to Santa Paula. Let's make it better together.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Fred Robinson.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Santa Paula Chamber of Commerce for inviting us to participate in this forum this evening. Briefly, a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Santa Paula, attended public schools, and graduated from Santa Paula High School. Went on to college, have a bachelor's degree in history and English, and a master in social work from San Diego State University. My professional career has been in serving people with developmental disabilities. I worked at Tri-Counties Regional Center for 17 years as the director of case management, managing over 100 social workers in their work. And for the last 22 years, I've been the CEO of the ARC of Ventura County, which was founded in Santa Paula in 1954. And I will be retiring after a 43-year career on December 31st. and that will give me an opportunity to spend more time working for the city of Santa Paula. These are tough times. The recession hit Santa Paula very hard. The state has serious budget problems and continues to have a $15 billion deficit. Much of our revenue was taken away from us. We have addressed those budget problems and solved them. We feel we've done a good job in keeping the city financially solvent and avoiding bankruptcy, and I look forward to your support so that we may continue our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Jim Tavayos.
Good evening. The first question is, why would I run again? You run for a position like this because you care about the city. The first few years flew by. I was born and raised in Santa Paula, graduated in the class of 1971. I graduated from Long Beach State with a bachelor's degree in business management. I'm proud to say I worked my way through college. I started with State Farm in 1977. I worked in supervision, personnel, and with executive. I worked with over 1,000 employees. I left management with State Farm because we didn't want to move our kids all over the country, and I started my business here in Santa Paula in 1985, and the business has done okay. We've been married for over 35 years to Martha. We have 3 children, Rob, Lori, and Joe. All are college graduates. All are employed in careers that they enjoy. I'm always concerned with the financial situation in Santa Paula. It's important that we provide the essential dollars to provide the services. When I ran for this position in 2008, I said I'd take a business approach to government. That's what I've done. The results have been very good for the city of Santa Paula. If you read today's Star Press, 30 more cities are having major financial issues. We're not one of them. Thank you.
Okay. And Martine, we'll begin with you on this first question from the audience. The question is, and I'm combining several along the same vein, but what are your top 3 priorities and things that you would pursue if elected that would also help encourage civic agreement in the community and deal with the issues before us?
Thank you, David. Wonderful question. I appreciate that opportunity to respond to that. Definitely on my platform includes fiscal accountability and transparency. I can't tell you how many citizens I've met when walking precincts that they just feel they don't have a voice anymore in this government. That makes me sad. The other would be public safety. Public safety is very important. I know that any one of you, if you dial 911, you want to know that the people that respond are well-trained, well-equipped to respond, know what they're doing to help save any loved one or any neighbor, anybody that might be in distress. I know that for a fact. I used to do that kind of work. The other is professional management and organizational integrity in our government. I really feel that the communication in our government currently there could be some improvement. I hear that the information that is shared from the administration to the council and back and forth isn't always accurate. I know that for a fact because, matter of fact, in one of the candidate statements, he says that he stopped the county from placing an alcohol and drug treatment center here. That was a quick 30 seconds. Thank you.
Yeah. And Kenneth, as a reminder, it's 1 minute. One other announcement for me to make. We have Lourdes Campbell here providing simultaneous translation. If anybody wants a handset or headset, you can just raise your hand and they'll bring you one if that'll help. So again, you have 1 minute on these responses. Fred Robinson, same question to you. Top 3 priorities about what you would do if reelected and encouraging civic engagement and transparency.
Well, I think we've been very transparent with city government over the last 4 years. My first priority would continue to be fiscal responsibility. While many cities in California are looking on fiscal collapse and bankruptcy, we are fiscally sound. This council over the past 4 years turned around a $1.8 billion deficit, and today we have a surplus. It was a very, very trying time. We had to take the tough issues on, and we did. Public safety is always my priority. We are proud to say that for the first time in the history of Santa Paula, we now have a fully staffed fire department. We just hired 5 new firefighters. My first priority is to turn our attention to the police department after the election, get a student resource officer at our schools, fully staffed PD and fire. Finally, transparency in government, be available to the community. Let the people speak, and listen to their concerns.
Thank you. Jim, if you pull that microphone a little bit closer to you also, I think it'll make it easier to hear you. Same question to you about your top 3 priorities.
When you're in this position, things pop up all the time, but like Councilman Robinson, the first priority was to stay fiscally solvent. We've done that. We privatized the trash department, which wasn't popular at the time, but we did that 2 years ago. We had to look at the regulations that were confronting the city, AB 32, and we knew we couldn't comply, didn't have the resources to actually move forward. So fiscal responsibility is the first thing. When you have funds, you can actually provide public safety. We have other cities that are cutting 20, 30, 40% of their police and fire. We're not one of them. And the other thing is transparency. We have an antiquated accounting system that's unbelievable. As we move forward in the first quarter, we'll propose a brand new accounting system that every entry made is communicated through the departments, and everything is placed online so people can see what's happening. As East Area comes, there's going to be more and more money flowing through this city. People need to know where it's going and how it's spent.
Thank you. And Dwayne Ashby, same question to you.
Well, at the risk of sounding like a parrot, but I think everybody has the same, I'm getting a lot of same concerns from all the people that I'm talking to. And transparency in the city means that you don't have a sudden thing appearing on the agenda that the public never heard about before or never got a chance to give their input. I'm focused on bringing City Hall back to the people, bringing the communication back to the people, telling you what's going on, keeping the transparency, the public information there. Public safety, of course, is my second primary concern. And yes, we have done great things fiscally in this town. And I think there are more things that can be done. There are more things that we can do. And I'm going to bring everything I have to bear in continuing to build Santa Paula's fiscal and financial ability and to keep us as one of the top cities in the county. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to the next question. Fred, we'll start with you. There's several here about privatization and outsourcing. How do you feel about the sale of city assets that has occurred in conjunction with outsourcing certain city functions, and do you believe the privatization of city services and assets is in the best interest of the residents? Why or why not?
Well, as Councilman Tobias mentioned, we did make the decision to privatize solid waste. That was driven largely by AB 32 and new environmental regulations that we weren't prepared to meet. We privatized, we brought in bidders, we made a decision, we lowered the rates, particularly for seniors, and now you can put your trash out every day that you're scheduled and they'll pick up any barrel. You don't have to wonder, is it green or blue or brown this week? So that's one of the things we did. I have no interest in privatizing any other services. There was a rumor that we're going to privatize our water agency. That's absolutely not true, and I certainly don't believe in privatizing or sending our police and fire, bringing in the county to do that. So no on those.
Thank you. Jim, same question to you. How do you feel about the sale of city assets, such as with the solid waste, and how do you feel about privatization of city services?
First of all, I don't believe we should sell anything if it doesn't make business sense. You can't run a government the way things were done in the past. You can't hope and pray that the state will come and drop some money into your lap. You've got to be able to look ahead, look at the regulations that are confronting the city. They've got to make economic sense. I think the other issue you're talking about is maybe the old waste plant. I think we need to move that too. I think that's a liability. I think as we move forward, that's a piece of property that does make sense to actually sell. So we're not in here for wholesaling or privatization, everything. It's got to make business sense. As we move forward in public works, it makes sense to bring in contractors to do a job, and after the job's done, pay for it with the money allotted, and not carry the ongoing expense for the city. So when it makes sense to privatize, I'll support it. When it doesn't, I won't.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ashby, same question.
Okay, well, I feel the same way about the police and all the other assets. I'm not going to talk about the waste. That's over with. I want to focus on a couple of key points. Last night at another public meeting, one of the incumbents said that this sale of this property would include a per fee tonnage from the people that buy it. Well, that was the first I've ever heard about it. It was never mentioned in any of the council meetings prior to this. It hasn't seen it in writing anywhere, so where's the transparency there? The incumbent also stated that we're selling this as is. Great, I love that. But he stated also that Crown was the only one that wanted to buy it. No one else wanted to. You know what? I didn't hear anybody put an RFP out. I didn't hear anybody ask if Harrison wanted to bid on it. I didn't hear if anybody asked if Waste Management wanted to bid on it. I haven't even seen the bid that Crown put in. I don't even know if they put one in. Where's the transparency in that? Okay, whether or not we should sell that, I don't know, but that's my position.
Thank you. And Martine, same question to you as far as how do you feel about sale of city assets and privatization?
Well, personally, I don't think either of those should ever be done. First of all, I think the city needs to start by setting some goals and priorities and having a plan, not only a short, but a mid-range and a long-term plan. Look at the future. Stop being so reactionary. It's like looking in your bank account and seeing you don't have any money left, so you sell your washer and dryer, but now you have to go down to the coin laundry and pay for your laundry to get done. It's basically what's happening with the old wastewater treatment plant. They want to sell that property to an entity that they will have to lease back that property for the maintenance activities that go on that property. As far as the AB 32 is concerned, it was to reduce refuse by 20%, your refuse to the landfill. The city was well on its way to that track. Harrison was doing a wonderful job. They did that to make up this alleged projected budget deficit that no one has been able to uncover to this point, to this day. And when you ask them for it, they still haven't produced it. So I'm not quite sure where that came from. And so,
Going to have
no.
to stop you there, Martin.
Sure.
Martine, thank you. Okay, we're on to the next question. Jim, you're up first on this one. And the question is about the police chief position. What will be the timing and process of hiring a new police chief, and will you support a citizens committee to help with the selection?
Yes. Actually, the posting closed for the police, am I on? The police chief last week. We had 25 very good applicants applying for the position. The initial assessment will be by 3 prominent people. They'll screen the 25 applicants. They'll be screened by Police Chief Jerry Williams of the Oxnard PD, Assistant County Sheriff John Kalmbach, and District Attorney Greg Totten. Once they've done the initial screening, it will go to a panel of 5 citizens for their input, and ultimately the decision will be that of the city manager. But yes, we will support it. We need to do it, and it's time to move on.
Okay, thank you. Same question to the rest of the candidates, of course, if you want to just give your positions also on the hiring of the chief. But the questions are, what will be the timing and process, and would you favor a citizens committee?
If the issue hasn't been resolved by the time that I'm sworn in, I will make it one of my highest priorities to get it resolved. I do support getting the citizens involved in the selection process. I think that's very important. Also, one of the thoughts that I would propose to the public and to the council is that maybe, as citizens, just maybe, we need a citizen-run police commission. I don't know. Let's talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Martine, same question.
Again, one of my platform issues is transparency, transparency, transparency. You know, I don't recall when the last Citizens Committee was created, frankly, for selection, well, maybe the city manager, but that was years ago. And I'm not sure, I think last night was the first time that I personally heard about a citizen committee being developed to hire the next police chief. So I'm not sure if any of you heard about that, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. We're here to serve you. I'm here to serve you. Unless I know what your ideas are, what you need in the community, I don't know what those are. I need to set goals to help meet those needs based on your priorities and what the city can afford to do. Secondly, a citizen committee would be excellent. I hope many of you are interested in maybe applying for that. I think the timing is now that we need to start getting involved in our city government. I can't make decisions out here without you telling me what you need in this community. So I'm here to listen to you, listen to what the issues are so that we can address them.
Thank you. And let's see, Fred, you're up next. Your response to the issue on the police chief?
I could say ditto, but I'll make a few comments. We had a vacancy. The position was advertised in all the appropriate journals and properly announced in the media. We received a number of applicants. We have 25 highly qualified finalists, 3 distinguished police officers and members of our judiciary will review them. Then they will go to a Citizens Advisory Committee. I believe there's 5, 6 people on that advisory committee, and ultimately the decision made by the city manager. Mr. Martin Hernandez talks about transparency. We've made that very well known that there would be a Citizen Advisory Committee as part of the process. That's what we do with all of our appropriate city issues.
Thank you. Dwayne, you're up first. Let's talk about the economic situation again. The questions are, everyone talks about Limoneira East area. We need more than this. What's the answer? And assuming that you as a candidate have reviewed the city's budget, do you believe the current allocations are in the best interest of the city? If not, what would you change? So, your thoughts about growing economic development here in the city, and what would you change if you're elected?
That's a long, pretty complex question. Yes, Limoneira is a key factor in our economic development, but that's in the future, and that's not the only the only arrow in our quiver. There are other things that we can do. We can create an atmosphere that's more conducive to business owners to conduct their business. Part of what I've done, and as the chairman of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, as a member of that committee, and as a candidate, is I've talked to the businesses in town, and they are very discouraged about the way they're treated, the way they're handled. So we need to turn that around. We need to work with them. We need to encourage additional business. We need to encourage investment in the town. We need to keep an eye on our infrastructure and make sure that we maintain our town what it is so that we are a destination and a place that people want to come do business at.
Thank you. Martine, same question. Your thoughts about growing the economic situation here, and what changes would you make in the budget?
Thank you, David. That is a good question. However, it's quite complex for 60 seconds, so I'm going to stick to economic revitalization, which is one of my platform issues. Again, in the work I do currently, I'm exposed to so many resources throughout the county, state, and federal government that I've already identified a couple of sources that could help us with our downtown revitalization and our economics to help our business owners, small and large business owners in the community. And I've always been here to help. That's my job as a representative of the supervisor. That's my job as a neighbor to you. And it was interesting, I've been speaking to this in front of the city council recently. As a matter of fact, the other day I had the city manager's office just call me and ask me what some of those resources are. And I thought, great, thank you for reaching out. I'm always here to help as a citizen, as a resident here, and certainly as your city council member.
Thank you. Fred, same question to you about growing the economic base and your thoughts.
The city is moving forward economically out of the deep, dark recession that we all experienced. East Area 1 is the footprint for the future of Santa Paula. I was in support of East Area 1 from the very beginning, very instrumental in getting it to the voters and through LAFCO. I was the mayor at that time, and we had to clear a number of hurdles. But we're on the precipice of greatness with East Area 1. I want to give you one other example of how this council is business friendly. CalPipe came to us and said, I will open a plant if you will expedite the zoning and permit process. We did it over a very short period of time. He moved his plant here and promised to move another plant from Downey, which will create 200 new jobs here in Santa Paula. We did that within 2 months.
Thank you. Jim, same question to you.
Could repeat that, please?
Certainly, it's about how would you grow the economic base, and what do you believe in the current budget should be altered?
Well, first of all, East Area 1 is huge, but as we move forward, the whole economy needs to be enhanced. This whole next few years is going to be about jobs. Jobs, jobs, jobs. People need to work. We have the highest unemployment rate in the county. And as Councilman Robinson said, we have cut through barriers, expedited processes to create the jobs here with CalPipe, which now hires 25 of our residents, 70 by the end of next year, and up to 200. As we look forward, we need to look at development agreements. I'd like to meet with the reps who are experts in labor and see how we can work together as the East Area moves forward. There was a lot of support, over 80% from the citizens of this town. I think they need to be engaged from the beginning to be part of the process for working some type of labor agreement.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start with Martine on this next question. Let's talk about the youth and sports. So Martine, what is your position on assessing a per-hour fee on various youth sports organizations that are especially designated nonprofit? And do you want to talk a little bit about the Santa Paula Little League fields? They were supposed to be refurbished, but that hasn't happened yet. And what would you do if you're elected to make those things occur?
Thanks again, David. Right up my alley. I love youth. Was my favorite job so far is working at the Family Resource Center, helping youth in this community. I think it would take me being able to sit down with the city manager, looking at the city budget, and really determining whether or not we need to charge those Little League teams fees or not. You know, we're here to support our future, our youth, whether it's through education, through sports. You know, one of the things I saw as a director of that Family Resource Center, a lot of things that these at-risk youth struggle with is not having activities. And do we really want to deter that because we're charging the teams money to help with the health of our community? I don't think so. So I do everything to find money again through the resources I know through the state and federal government that are so available. If only our council members appointed to some of these committees and our staff would be present at some of these meetings, we'd learn more about that. But I always see them absent. I'm really sorry that's the case currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Fred, same question to you. Basically, yes or no, would you support assessing this per-hour fee on the youth sports organizations? And
No,
if you,
I don't.
if I could just finish,
I don't
Fred.
want to.
Fred, 1 second. If you are reelected, will you make the conversion of the baseball fields, getting those ready, a priority? And also, Fred, if you could bring the microphone a little closer, I think that would help the audience. Okay, thank you.
We had to implement some fees for youth sports in light of our severe budget crisis. That was a very painful decision. We minimized them, and we only did it after we brought all the teams in and got their commitment and understanding to help us through this economic crisis. I grew up in the Santa Paula Little League and at the Boys and Girls Club. Those sports fields and those coaches are much of what made me what I am today and led me into a successful career. I want to say, Harding Park, we just committed $900,000 for complete renovation of Harding Park. That has been done, and that work will be completed. This council also found a grant that Mr. Martin Hernandez says we never get any grants for $1 million to rehabilitate Los Piedras Park, and that is currently being done. So we are very, very active in those committees. We get the money, we do the work.
Thank you. Jim, your same position about assessing the fee, and also the question was referring to Tom Moore Field. If you could talk about starting the construction there.
Well, actually, as Councilman Robinson said, we've just allocated $900,000 to start the renovation of Harding Park. Nobody likes to charge fees for facilities, but when you're dealing with financial situations like we were, you have to look at all options. The city was subsidizing about $300,000 a year to provide the maintenance for the facilities that the youth used. We brought everybody in. We have a graduated scale to recoup the cost of running those fields, running the lights, providing the water, and it's going to be implemented over a 3-year period. Hopefully, by next year, we'll be in a position that we can actually remove some of those fees. But we had to do it. It wasn't pleasant. And again, the city was subsidizing at a rate of $300,000 a year. We had to make some adjustments. We didn't want to close down parks. We wanted to be sure they're available. And all the people that actually participated actually understood that there's costs involved when you have to maintain fields. So they're very cooperative, and we appreciated all their help and their input.
Thank you. Dwayne, your input on charging fees and what you would do to help speed up the renovations.
Like has been said by everybody else, the fees are not pleasant. I don't think that we should be upset with the city council because they had to resort to that. I think that was one of the exigencies of the nature of the situation. But yes, as going forward, I will look to doing everything I can to reducing and eventually eliminating those, and in the interim, trying to give preferential treatment to those teams that are based out of our city, trying to support them as much as we can. We have been told of the redevelopment money or the refurbishment money that's going to be spent. So that theoretically should be almost done by the time the new council is sworn in. If it's not, it will be a priority on day one, one of the priorities for day one.
Thank you. Fred, we're going to begin with you. I have some questions that will probably only apply to individuals. We'll rotate around. So this one will be for you and Jim. It says, according to your financial disclosures, you and Mr. Tobias have each received donations from the Crimson Company, a Chatsworth lobbying group, which represents Crown Disposal. So if you could confirm that, yes or no, and do you think that's appropriate?
Yes and yes.
Thank you. Mr. Tobias, same question to you.
Well, yes, I think the implications are that we're trading a vote for money. I'll let you know that I was accused last time when we privatized. We both received contributions from Harrison Rubbish, and we were accused of actually privatizing for the benefit of Harrison. Well, Harrison didn't get the contract. Our votes aren't for sale. So yes and yes.
Okay. Mr. Ashby, a question for you, if this is correct, that you opened your campaign, that you disagreed with how the council handled the personnel matter of Chief McKinnon, and if that's correct, why do you believe the council, or why do you believe the council handled it improperly? What would you have done differently?
This one is a hard one to answer for simply because the incumbents aren't going to really have a chance to get their say on the matter. But I have said that I disagree on how it was handled. Being involved in business and handling personnel matters, being in management and teaching and working with management, there's certain ways that you handle situations where employees may or may not have done something that contrary to policy, contrary to regulations. The companies I work for have to abide by a myriad of legal statutes and regulations across the world, and we have our employees violate those all the time. There are good ways to handle it. There are bad ways to handle it. I don't think this time it was handled correctly.
Thank you. Martine, a question for you. As an employee of County Supervisor Long, how will you know when to recuse yourself from issues where the city's best interests may be in conflict with the county's best interests? This could involve issues such as water rights, river usage, ocean belts, sales taxes, many other things. Will you talk about your relationship there?
Absolutely. First of all, Supervisor Long's in full support of my candidacy for City Council. She and I have had many talks about this, and we're very clear about where the jurisdictions lie, where the authority lies, when there's conflicts, and how to avoid those conflicts. It's been done. There's a precedent set, another supervisor has, a staff member who's on a city council as well. It's worked well in their office, and I can ensure it'll work well in ours. I can't remember for the last 12 years that I've been in our office that there's been any decisions that the city council has made with regards to partnering with the county that I would have had to recuse myself at all. The county's been involved in projects in the city. They've helped repair the airport, Watershed Protection District, and the State Office of Emergency Services. The County Flood Control District also helped bank erosion protection for the Santa Paula Creek. That was done in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers. Opening of the Santa Paula Hospital was done by the county.
Thank you. Jim, we're going to start with you on what's going to be close to our last question. There's several questions here on water for all of you candidates.
Well, I've got a question. Do we get to respond to any of these statements?
You have closing statements. You can feel free to say anything you want in your closing statements.
Okay.
So the council is holding a water study meeting that's coming up soon to address the city's concerns about how the water and sewer rates have become so high. There's talk about using the city's recycled water management plan and how that would benefit the city or not. So will you talk to us about your views about why the rates are high and how the water facility went to Crown and this water management plan? Try and fit all that in 60 seconds.
Gee, thanks, David. God, I didn't get that.
Okay, the big issue there is it was done back in 2006. Everything had been pretty well in place when we got here. But our job is to find relief for the ratepayers, and that's the big issue coming up in December. I want to read something to you. City staff, and we've been working on this for a year. People come and say that we've done nothing. We've been working on this. We're aware of the problems. I'm going to read this to you. City staff is on the process of recommending a delay in the implementation of the new sewer rate increases for a period of 6 months while we work on the refinancing and other long-term solutions until they're completed. The proposed action was reviewed by our bond counsel, found to be legal and financially sound, and I will support this recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Ashby, the same question to you about your views on the city's water plan and selling the water assets and bringing in Crown.
It's interesting the statement's been working on it for a year. If you'll remember the city council meeting, this last city council meeting that we had, where they opted to put together the special committee, Councilman Fernandez lamented that he had been complaining for a year and a half about trying to do something about this and that we hadn't done anything. So that's just an interesting point. As far as helping the ratepayers, there's a lot of things that we can do. I'll just mention one out of many. People don't know that we have, the city, are owners of $630,000 worth of valuable water injection credits. That we own them, and they're just sitting on the shelf not being used. We could sell them a year at a time and get that money, and maybe we could use that money to set up a fund to help our citizens who are least able to afford the rates get some financial relief.
Thank you. Martine, same question to you about the water study, the water management plan, the assets.
My understanding from some individuals I've talked to, there has been this water rate study and water plan for a number of years, and that it's set on the shelf and it's been getting dust on it. Why they have recently decided to take it off the shelf and dust it off, I'm not sure. I'm glad to see something's finally being done. Matter of fact, last night I heard again for the first time, I don't know if any of you have heard, but that they have a plan now to stop the water rate raises. And they can't tell you about it now, but they'll tell you in about a week to 10 days. It's exactly what I heard last night at another forum that we were at. Now I'm thinking, how can they do this behind closed doors, make all these plans, not include the citizens, tell us what they're planning, and not include us? I take offense to that personally. I live here, I pay taxes, I should be included in the decisions that are being made in my best interest. It feels like I'm being told what I know is what's best for us instead of me helping find solutions to my own city.
Thank you. And Dwayne, we're up with you again, going first. Actually, I think I didn't get to you, right, Fred? So it's your question.
So you want me to respond to the water question?
Yeah, the water question. I'm sorry
Okay.
to have skipped you there.
The rates are too high, we're going to do something about it. We're going to do it with proper public vetting, and we'll solve the problem, like we did the budget problem and many other problems in the community. I want to talk about another water issue. I'm the city's rep on most water agencies. One of the biggest problems confronting us is chlorides. Nobody wants to talk about it, and we have to do something about it. I have made 2 trips to Sacramento to build a coalition of legislators from Santa Clarita to Ventura to get a joint effort using state funds, grant money, to begin to address the chloride issues in our water. It's going to have to be addressed. The Water Board is going to mandate it, and this is something I've been working on for 2 years. So I resent when one of the people running for council says we never address these problems. We work all the time.
Thank you. Dwayne, we're going to begin with you. Let's talk about upfront and personal with everybody's homes in the city. And the question is, the city is looking so dirty and run down. Why? Whose fault is this? And really the comment is, this hurts our businesses and discourages others from opening businesses here. So will you talk about this issue about making the city look a little more beautiful?
Well, I personally, aside from maybe yellowing of lawns due to high costs of water and very little rain, I actually think that our city has been actually looking better and better. I mean, American Bloom and Downtown Merchants have really done a great job. It's a great place to go. So if citizens are concerned about how the city is looking, then I want to hear about it. I want to talk to them and work with them to find out ways to address and make improvements. There's always room for improvement no matter what we have or what we do. We can always improve, and I'm open to be part of that improvement.
Thank you. Martine, your thoughts about making the city a little more beautiful?
Thank you, David. You know, it takes a village, right? That's why I've adopted the motto, let's make it better together. I don't have all the answers. I know some of you do. You help me with that answer. I'll do everything in my power if elected to help pass that initiative, that need. Downtown, I was waiting for a tux when I was dancing the salsa festival outside the tuck shop. I looked at the sidewalk, it was disgusting. I know exactly whoever wrote that question was trying to say. You know, if we step up and volunteer and help this community, city doesn't always have the budget to pay for these things, but if we work together, we can make this city the shining gem of the valley. You know, we really can. And I'd be willing to head that volunteer effort. I've been heading the Santa Paula Tattoo Removal Clinic for 13 years now. It's been a wonderful program. It just takes some volunteers. The doctors are volunteers. The staff is volunteers. People want to help make this community a better place to live. I know that because I hear it, and I'm willing to help you get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Fred, your thoughts about cleaning up the city a bit?
I don't agree with that statement. I think the city looks very lovely, and I take great pride in our city. Whoever wrote that, if you'll join us Saturday morning at the gazebo at 8 o'clock, I believe, we have a group of volunteers from the high school. They're going to spend the morning picking up trash and cleaning up the community. When I see our oil museum, I take pride. When I see our new ag museum or our murals or our beautiful airport, I take pride. I don't think our city looks bad at all. Could look better. We're working on that. But our murals, our museums, this is a beautiful, beautiful city. It is a Norman Rockwell picture of America, and we want to make it better.
Thank you. Jim, same question to you.
I'm like Councilman Robinson. I think the city looks great. The sidewalks need some work, and we've started and it's been going on. I'm not sure when the next scheduled steam cleaning of the sidewalks would be, but I'm surprised they get so dirty so fast. When people drop their drinks or whatever they do, there doesn't seem to be a pride sometimes in picking up after themselves. But I think to say the city is not in good shape and doesn't look beautiful is kind of a slap in the face to the American in Bloom people, the people that have flowers throughout the city. We also have a grant for almost $1 million to beautify the city from the 10th Street Bridge all the way up to, I believe, the Santa Paula Interchange. That'll be happening next year. So we have a beautiful town here. I had someone that actually was a client, came back to Santa Paula from Santa Barbara, hadn't been here for a few years, and just commented how beautiful everything looked. It's not because of the city, it's the citizens that continually step up time and time again, that take pride in this town, and made it look so good.
Thank you. Martine, you're up first on this next question. And it is, we haven't really talked that much about some of the department heads. There's been quite a bit of controversy about some of the hirings or terminations. So the question reminds you that public safety is not just sworn police or fire. It's also public works personnel who maintain the roads, remove the fallen trees, keep water safe. So what are your plans about all of the departments, and do you support hiring permanent department heads for things such as finance and public works?
Another great question. I do believe in that. Matter of fact, I was in a meeting this morning of the regional transportation plan, and the amount of professionals that were there present was just astonishing. You know, we need some professionals to help run this town. Not that Brian doesn't do a great job, or Ish, or any of those other guys. I know them, they do great. However, if we don't get those professionals in place, it's going to be really difficult to get the proper information to the people that make the decisions in this town. And we're really, honestly, setting ourselves for liability. You know, when you have someone in a public works interim position, interim finance director, interim police chief, you know, they're doing a great job, they're doing the best they can. They make the wrong decision, however, because they're not qualified, completely qualified. Guess who's liable? We are. The city is. We're liable to lawsuits, bad project gone wrong, bad decision by the police department, not because they're not trying their best, don't get me wrong. It's because maybe they're just not qualified to do the job they're being asked to do.
Thank you. Fred, your thoughts or your views on what you would do if reelected as far as having permanent department heads?
Well, absolutely. As the budget improves and we have the funds, we're going to reappoint permanent heads to all of our departments. We're not going to get out of this recession overnight, but it will come with time. I think that interim police chief Ish Cordero has done a brilliant job. He represents the city professionally at all events, and the police officers are 100% behind him. He's done a great job. Same with Brian, our Public Works Director. He got our $4.2 million water tank built up on the top of Stecco Drive completed. That will be opening shortly, and then we can rehab our, can you hear me now? Okay. So I disagree that these folks haven't been doing a good job. They're doing a good job under very difficult circumstances. The cavalry is coming, help is on the way, and we appreciate them immensely.
Jim, your thoughts about will you support hiring permanent department heads for things like finance, public works?
Absolutely, when you can cost justify it. The problem we had in the past in public works, we were spending close to $1 million a year, but we didn't have the work in the city to cost justify it. Now we've cut that expense to under $500,000. Brian's done an outstanding job. You don't need to be an engineer when you run public works. You have to have good management skills. He has great management skills, but you surround yourself with the people that know what they're doing, the people that know the rules and regulations, the engineers that make sure we're compliant. And when you bring a company in and you contract, they carry the liability for that issue. All the citizens right now the workers are stepping up, but when we can cost justify it, absolutely. But the old way of doing government was filling a job because it was there, not because you afford it. That's not because you could afford it, and that's the reason so many cities are in a financial mess. You've got to run it like a business, and you've got to get the results, but by the same token, you can't do things that were done in the past. It's not working, and many of the cities are having fiscal problems because they're filling positions when they can't cost justify them. When we can cost justify them, we will fill those jobs.
Thank you. Dwayne, we'll wrap up with you on this question. What's your views on supporting or hiring of permanent department heads?
I don't know about you, but I didn't hear anybody's complain about what the interims are doing up here. And I'm absolutely as pleased and excited about the tough job that they've taken on and the hard work that they're doing. The one thing about interim folks, though, is it's kind of not fair to them. What you've done is you've taken someone who's been in a position of some responsibility and you thrust them into a position of huge responsibility, and without proper care, training, and management, those folks can misstep, not intentionally, not out of any ill will, but they can possibly misstep, and that's something you want to be careful. Now, I do support hiring the people that we need when we have the ability to afford it, when we have the money. And if the people who are serving in interim capacity want to apply for those jobs, they will get my top consideration for the wonderful job that they're doing.
Gentlemen, we have time for just one more question. I have one for the incumbents, one for the challengers. So Fred and Jim, this one will be to you. And I think it's really looking for an explanation. Why did you separate the disposal and water and sewage services? It seemed like that increased cost. Could you explain why that was necessary or what the rationale was?
I'm not quite sure what the question is. Could you repeat that?
Why did you separate the disposal and water and sewage services? I'm assuming that maybe you split billing. Is that true for trash versus the water?
Well, the solid waste is now managed by Crown, and they do the billing.
So maybe you could explain that, why they're now different because of the privatization.
Okay, well, when we were dealing with the issues around AB 32, we made the decision to privatize trash. We did an RFP, did the vetting process, and eventually the contract was awarded to Crown. By the way, there was a comment made about getting a donation from Crown for my campaign. I didn't ask for it. They just gave it to me, and I didn't vote for them initially. I voted for the other guy. But they've been a good partner with the city, and they've done a great job. And the city still manages the water and sewer, and that's why the bills come from the city for that.
Okay. Jim, do you want to add anything to that, please?
No, same answer. It's private, it's separate.
Okay. And for the challengers, the question is, why are you running for the city council? We'll begin with Dwayne Ashby.
Sorry. I pretty much kind of said that in my opening statements. As I watched what's been happening in the city, and from both as a citizen and as a member of the EDAC, and based on the discussions I've had with citizens and business owners in the town, I think the city council has done some wonderful things, but it just seems to me that in the past little while, there are some aspects of what's been going on at City Hall have seemed to be a little off. They haven't been quite the right direction that people that the people that have talked to me have felt it should be going. And so I want to do my part to maintain that connection with the public and represent their interests and redirect a little bit and keep us going in the wonderful direction that we've been going, and make sure that we continue.
Thank you. Martine, do you want to add anything about why you chose to run?
Absolutely, appreciate the opportunity. First of all, I was asked, and I want to take this opportunity to thank all those wonderful supporters and numerous supporters I have in the community that have come forward, that have asked me to run, that have continued to support me throughout my campaign. I'm very, very humbled by that, and I want to thank you for that. I can't sit back any longer and pretend like I don't see what's going on where I think I can make a difference. It's just no different than what we model for our children. You know, we tell them to be of service. Matter of fact, 2 of our boys are in the military active duty right now. They know what it's like to be of service to this country. They know what it's like to be of service to others. Matter of fact, the proudest moment, I think my wife and I share one of the proudest moments, is walking our walk down the street and seeing one of our boys who was running track at the high school, stopping his run to help a woman take her groceries in the car, into the house from her car, because she's an elderly woman. We saw that. We just both started weeping. We looked at each other and said, we did a great job. That's why I'm running.
I have to cut you off there. Thank you very much. We're now going to begin our closing statements, and we're going to reverse the order that we opened with. So Mr. Tobias will go first. Candidates, you have 1.5 minutes.
Jeez, well, that's quick.
Well, then don't waste it thanking me. Just talk to the audience. I know that's what you wanted to do, but go ahead.
Okay, people need to understand what's happened over the last 4 years. We took a $1.8 million deficit, turned it into a surplus, and we're able to maintain a AA rating, which is going to help us refinance the water plant at the wonderful bond rates that are available. While we were dealing with this $1.8 million issue, we were able to invest over $30 million in infrastructure. We brought in over $10 million in grants, which is free money to the city. We completed the bike trail. We applied over $1 million to Las Piedras Park, which has been neglected for years. We were actually also applying for a grant to build them a gymnasium. We have $900,000 going towards the Harding Park, and that will be starting very soon. We built affordable housing for Santa Paula seniors. We had 20 units, 167 applicants. That's where I see the future of affordable housing going. That's a wonderful project. We lowered the trash rates for many Santa Paula residents, and we passed a resolution to start the unification process, which has been sitting in the general plan for years. We created jobs, encouraged labor agreements, and you've got to thank staff. For the future, East Area 1, public safety, jobs, jobs, jobs. You can't run a city like you run them in the past. You continually need to look ahead. You have to lead. You can't react. That's why Councilman Robinson and I that's what we've done over the last 4 years. That's why our city's in a very strong position to move forward, unlike many other cities. Because of our record, of our results that have benefited all the citizens, our proven leadership, I'm asking for your vote in 2008.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next candidate is Fred Robinson.
Well, since Mr. Councilman Tobias and I are running as a slate, all the things that he said we've accomplished, I was a part of that. As you make your vote to give us another term or to bring in 2 members, I ask that you look at our record and what we did. We managed this city through the toughest economic period Santa Paula has ever experienced. And we kept the city on its footing, avoided bankruptcy, and now are building a surplus. I think that's a pretty favorable record. We took on issues that other councils weren't willing to take on. Unification has been on the general plan for 20 years, and nobody would ever deal with it. We took it on, we passed a resolution, and now you get to vote on it. And that's the kind of issues and incentives that we bring to being on the city council. I'd like to thank the 2 opponents. We disagree on many things. I think Mr. Martinez will have many conflicts being in Supervisor's long office. He won't be able to vote on transportation issues, water issues, and many other things because they involve the county. Thank you.
You still have more
No,
time.
was that the
No,
stop?
you have more time.
Oh, I got more time.
20 more
I want to talk
seconds.
about pride. I have pride. I have Cardinal pride. I graduated from Santa Paula High School. I go to the games. I'm on the alumni board. I have pride every time that board gives a scholarship to a deserving students. And I take a little offense when people say that we don't have pride in this community. This community made us. It is where I was born, and it is where I will die. I have pride, Cardinal pride.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Martine Hernandez.
Thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to present myself as one of your candidates for City Council. Pride, you know, this isn't about me. This is about you. And the people I'm talking to in town said that they're tired. They're tired of the way things are going. They're tired of not being listened to. They're tired of not being told how things are coming along. You know, the annual State of the City done by the mayor is done to the Chamber, which is great. What about the rest of you? Wouldn't you like to know how your city's performing? I'd suggest we do it at a venue like this where the general public can come and hear exactly what's being done on an annual basis. A lot of the things that the incumbents claim about the Ag Museum that I heard them claim before, the bike trail, the police officers memorial, you know, none of those took city effort. Matter of fact, the bike trail, the walking trail that you all are enjoying so much, which I think is a great asset, almost got lost because of the lack of attention to that grant that the city was paying. They almost lost the funding for that. Ag Museum was through the County Transportation Commission and the Ventura County Museum of Arts. And the police officer memorial was done by volunteers. Those are great efforts. Those are some of the people that have pride in this community. Those are some of the people that I want to work side by side with to help make this community a better place. But I am out there walking precincts, and what I hear by the people that I knock on the doors, they're telling me a big majority of them are. They're tired of the way things are going. They want a difference. They want a change. I'm your change. I'll make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next candidate is Dwayne Ashby.
I really hate to close the way I'm going to close, but I think there are some things that you need to know. See this piece of paper? This is something that you can get from the city. It says that the water that is being delivered to your house has a chloride level of 42.7. The latest reports about the water that's being delivered to the treatment plant for treatment has chloride levels in excess of 130. An engineering report paid for by the city and signed by Mayor Rick Cook says that the main cause of this substantial increase in chlorides from the arrival to the discharge is water softeners. We've had proposals on how to solve that problem that they have not been acted on. Last night, in a public forum in front of people, the incumbents stated that when they arrived in office in 2008, they were aware that the city was deficit spending, had been and was, but I never heard anything about it until all of a sudden after the election in 2010, boom, the city is now $1.8 million in the deficit. What happened in those 2 years? Why didn't we hear anything? Why wasn't there some actions being taken to prevent the deficit from happening, to stop the deficit spending that had been happening all those years and from 2008, 2009 till we got to 2010? It's our town, it's our tomorrow.
Thank you. How about a round of applause for these four candidates? Great. Two important points. Number one, you'll be voting for two candidates in November. And number two, we're going to take a very short break, and then we're going to hear from the proponents and opponents of Measure M, the ballot unification measure. Please, if you have questions, ask for a card about unification. We'll be happy to take those. We'll be right back. Thank you. How are we doing?